Hello, Anglitunes family! Welcome back to another episode full of learning, motivation, and English that actually works in real life. Today's episode is extra special because we're talking about one of the most powerful, simple, and underrated ways to learn English: reading.
That's right, Beatrice. If you're a beginner or even an intermediate learner and you want to improve faster, reading can completely change your journey. So before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this episode. Anglitune is growing, and you're part of that growth.
Let's start with a simple truth. Reading is everywhere. Messages, emails, subtitles, signs, social media, news, stories. When you learn English through reading, you're training your brain to recognize patterns, not just memorize rules.
Exactly. Reading helps you improve vocabulary, grammar, spelling, and even pronunciation, all at the same time. And the best part? You can do it at your own pace, without pressure.
Many learners think reading means difficult books or boring texts, but that's not true. Reading in English can be fun, light, and very personal if you choose the right material. George, one question we hear all the time from beginners is, what should I read in English? And honestly, this question shows that the learner is already on the right path.
Absolutely. Because choosing the right reading material is not a small detail. It can completely change how someone feels about learning English. The wrong choice can cause frustration. The right choice builds confidence.
Exactly. And let's be very clear with our Anglitune family. Beginners do not need to read difficult books. You don't need Shakespeare. You don't need long novels. You don't need academic articles.
Not at all. In fact, if you start with material that's too hard, your brain goes into survival mode. You stop enjoying the process and learning becomes stressful. And English should never feel like punishment.
So let's talk about what actually works. One of the best things beginners can read is short texts, short stories, short articles, short paragraphs. Why? Because short texts feel achievable.
Yes, you can finish them, and finishing something gives you a sense of success. Your brain says, hey, I understood this. That feeling is incredibly motivating.
Another amazing option is graded readers. These are books written specifically for English learners. They're organized by level, so the vocabulary and grammar won't surprise you too much.
That's a big deal. When the language is controlled, you spend less time translating and more time understanding. You start reading more smoothly, and English feels less scary.
And George, let's talk about something people often feel shy about: children's books.
Yes, this is so important. Many adult learners think children's books are too simple or embarrassing, but honestly, they are one of the best learning tools.
Exactly. Children's books use repetition, clear sentences, and strong context. They teach language naturally. That's how we all learned our first language, by the way.
And they tell stories. Stories help memory. You remember words better when they're part of a story, not a vocabulary list.
Another fantastic resource for beginners is podcast transcripts. If you're listening to an English podcast, reading the transcript at the same time or after is incredibly powerful.
Right. You connect what you hear with what you see. You notice pronunciation, spelling, and sentence structure together. It's like giving your brain a shortcut.
Now, for learners who want something more connected to real life, simple news articles are a great option, especially news written for English learners.
They talk about real topics, culture, daily life, technology, but in accessible language. You learn English that people actually use in conversations.
And we can't forget social media. Short posts, captions, comments. This is modern living English.
Exactly. Social media English is informal, natural, and everywhere. Reading short posts helps beginners understand how English sounds today, not just in textbooks.
There's also something very powerful about reading functional English, things like menus, recipes, instructions, emails, and product descriptions.
Yes, that kind of reading prepares you for real-life situations. Suddenly, English stops being just a subject and starts becoming a tool.
But here's the golden rule, and this is very important. Read what you enjoy.
Always. If you like food, read recipes. If you like travel, read travel blogs. If you like sports, read sports articles. Interest keeps you consistent.
And consistency beats everything. 5 or 10 minutes of enjoyable reading every day is far better than forcing yourself to read something boring once a week.
One last thing. Beginners should avoid jumping too far ahead. Long novels, complex newspapers, academic texts, those will still be there later.
Right now, the goal is not to impress anyone. The goal is to feel comfortable, confident, and motivated.
Because when reading feels friendly, English slowly becomes familiar. And when English feels familiar, fluency stops feeling impossible.
So start small, choose wisely, enjoy the process.
And remember, every page you understand is progress.
Now that we've talked about what beginners should read, let's talk about something even more important. How to read in English the right way. Because believe it or not, many learners read, but they read in a way that slows them down.
That's so true. Reading in English is not the same as reading in your native language, at least not at the beginning. And if you use the wrong approach, reading becomes tiring instead of helpful.
Exactly. So let's start with the biggest mistake beginners make, trying to understand every single word.
Yes, this is the #1 problem. Learners stop after every sentence, open the dictionary, translate word by word, and after 5 minutes, they're exhausted.
And frustrated, because reading turns into a translation exercise instead of a learning experience. So here's the first golden rule. Read for meaning, not perfection.
When you read in English, your first goal is to understand the general idea. Ask yourself, what is this text about? What's happening here? Not, what does this word mean?
Exactly. Think of reading like watching a movie. You don't stop the movie every time you don't understand one word. You follow the story. Reading works the same way.
So the first step is what we call global reading. Read the text from beginning to end without stopping too much. Let your brain get used to the rhythm of English.
And here's something important. It's okay not to understand everything. Even native speakers don't know every word they read. Understanding 60 or 70% is already a win.
After that first reading, then you can go back. And this is where reading becomes learning.
Yes. On the second reading, choose just a few words to focus on. Not 10, not 20, maybe 3 or 4.
Ask yourself, is this word important for understanding the text? If yes, look it up. If not, let it go. You don't need to learn everything at once.
And when you look up a word, don't just translate it. Try to understand how it's used in the sentence. Context is everything.
That's how vocabulary really sticks. Words learned in context are remembered much longer than words learned in isolation.
Now let's talk about something many learners underestimate: rereading.
Oh, yes. Reading the same text again is incredibly powerful. The second time feels easier. The third time feels familiar.
And that feeling of familiarity is gold. That's when English starts to feel natural instead of foreign.
Another powerful technique is reading out loud.
Yes, this changes everything. When you read out loud, you're not only reading, you're speaking.
You train pronunciation, rhythm, and confidence at the same time. Even if you read slowly, it's worth it.
And beginners often say, "But I'm shy." And that's okay. You don't need an audience. Read to yourself. Read in your room. Read softly.
Your mouth and your brain need practice together. Silent reading helps understanding. Reading out loud helps speaking.
Another key point, don't rush.
Yes, faster is not better. Clear is better. Slow reading builds strong foundations.
English fluency is not about speed, it's about comfort. Speed comes later, naturally.
Now let's talk about something very practical. How long should beginners read?
Short answer, not too long. 5 to 10 minutes is perfect.
Exactly. Reading for a short time every day is much better than reading for 1 hour once a week.
Consistency beats intensity, always.
Another important habit is reading with a purpose.
Yes, before you start, tell yourself, today I will just understand the idea, or today I will learn 3 new words.
Purpose keeps you focused and prevents frustration.
Let's also talk about translation. Translation is not evil, but it shouldn't be your main tool.
If you translate every sentence, your brain stays stuck between languages. Try to understand in English as much as possible.
Over time, something beautiful happens. You stop translating. You start recognizing phrases automatically.
And that's when you know your reading practice is working.
One more tip. Read the same type of content regularly.
Yes, if you always read similar text, for example, short stories or news articles, you'll see the same vocabulary again and again.
Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity creates confidence.
And confidence keeps you learning.
So let's summarize the right way to read in English. First, read for general meaning. Don't stop for every word. Reread the text. Choose a few important words. Read out loud. Keep it short and consistent.
If you follow these steps, reading stops being difficult and starts becoming enjoyable.
And when reading becomes enjoyable, English becomes part of your life, not just something you study.
That's the goal, not perfection, progress.
1 page at a time. George, if there's one habit that can dramatically accelerate someone's English, especially beginners, it's reading aloud. And yet, so many learners completely ignore it.
That's true. Reading aloud sounds simple, almost too simple, but it's one of the most powerful techniques out there, and also one of the most uncomfortable at first.
Yes, because it forces you to use your voice, and many learners are afraid of hearing themselves speak English.
Exactly, but that discomfort is actually a sign that learning is happening. When you read aloud, you move from passive learning to active learning.
Let's explain why this works so well. When you read silently, your brain is doing most of the work. But when you read aloud, your brain, mouth, ears, and memory work together.
And that connection is incredibly important. Your brain learns that English is not just something you see, it's something you produce.
One huge benefit of reading aloud is pronunciation. Many learners know a word when they see it, but they don't know how to say it.
Yes, reading aloud exposes those gaps immediately. You realize, oh, I know this word, but I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And that awareness is powerful.
And the best part? You don't need to be perfect. You're training your mouth, not performing for an audience.
Another big benefit is rhythm and intonation. English has a musical rhythm, stressed words, weak words, rising and falling tones.
When you read aloud, you start feeling that rhythm naturally. Even without knowing the rules, your ear begins to recognize patterns.
That's why learners who read aloud often sound more natural when they speak. Not faster, more natural.
Now, let's talk about confidence, because this is huge. Reading aloud builds speaking confidence in a very safe way.
Yes, you're not creating sentences from zero. The text is there. That removes pressure and fear.
You're practicing speaking without the stress of conversation. No interruptions, no judgment, just you and the language.
And over time, your voice becomes more comfortable in English. It stops feeling foreign.
Many learners say, but I feel silly reading aloud, and that's normal.
Very normal. But remember, nobody is watching. And even if someone were, practicing is nothing to be ashamed of.
Let's make this practical. How should beginners read aloud?
First, slowly. There's no prize for speed.
Yes, read slowly, clearly, and with pauses. Focus on clarity, not fluency.
Second, repeat sentences. Repetition is your friend.
Read one sentence, pause, read it again, maybe even a third time.
That repetition builds muscle memory. Your mouth learns the movements.
Another great technique is shadow reading, reading while listening to audio.
Exactly. You listen to a sentence, then read it aloud, copying the rhythm and pronunciation.
This is amazing with podcast transcripts or audiobooks.
It's like having a pronunciation coach at home.
Let's also talk about mistakes, because learners worry a lot about this.
Yes, when you read aloud, you will mispronounce words. That's not failure, that's feedback.
every mistake shows you what needs practice, and that's a good thing.
Another benefit of reading aloud is memory. Words you say out loud are remembered better than words you only read silently.
Because your brain associates the word with sound, movement, and effort.
Now, how long should someone practice reading aloud?
Short sessions are perfect. 5 minutes a day is enough.
Consistency matters more than duration.
And where should you do it? Anywhere you feel comfortable.
Your room, your car, a quiet place, whatever works.
You can even whisper if that helps you start.
The important thing is to use your voice.
Over time, something beautiful happens. Reading aloud stops feeling strange.
And speaking English starts feeling more natural.
Because you've already trained your mouth, your ears, and your confidence.
So let's leave our Englatoon family with this message. Don't skip reading aloud.
It may feel uncomfortable at first, but it's one of the fastest ways to grow.
Reading silently builds understanding.
Reading aloud builds speaking.
And together, they build fluency.
George, one thing beginners always ask is, how much should I read every day? And I love this question because it shows they want consistency, not magic.
Exactly. And the answer surprises many people. You don't need hours. You don't need a strict schedule. What you need is a simple, realistic daily routine.
Yes, a routine that fits into real life. Because let's be honest, if it's too complicated, people quit.
So let's build this routine together, step by step, in a way that anyone can follow, even with a busy life.
First rule, your daily reading routine should be short. 5 to 10 minutes is perfect for beginners.
And this is very important. Reading a little every day is much more powerful than reading a lot once in a while.
Your brain loves repetition. When you read daily, English stays fresh in your mind.
It becomes part of your routine, like brushing your teeth, small, automatic, and consistent.
Here's something many learners don't realize. Reading becomes easier when you read similar content every day.
Yes, if today you read a story, tomorrow a news article, then a recipe, then a tweet, your brain has to adapt every time.
But if you choose one type of content for a while, for example, short stories or podcast transcripts, vocabulary repeats.
And repetition is magic. Words stop feeling new. They start feeling familiar.
So we recommend choosing one main reading source and sticking with it for a few weeks.
Now, let's talk about what to do during your reading time.
The first reading is simple. Read to understand the general idea.
No dictionary, no stopping every sentence.
Ask yourself, what is this text about? What's happening? Who is involved?
If you understand a message, you're doing it right, even if you don't understand every word.
After that first reading, you can read again, this time more carefully.
Now, choose 2 or 3 new words, not more.
Yes, this is very important. Beginners often want to learn everything, and that's overwhelming.
Focus on quality, not quantity.
Write those words down, look up the meaning, and if possible, note a simple example sentence.
Words learned this way stay in your memory much longer.
Now comes one of our favorite steps, reading aloud.
This doesn't need to be long. Even one paragraph is enough.
Read slowly, clearly. Don't rush.
You're training your pronunciation and confidence at the same time.
And remember, mistakes are normal. Reading aloud is practice, not performance.
Here's a powerful habit. Create one simple sentence using a new word.
Just one. For example, if your new word is relax, you can say, I relax at home on Sundays.
This step connects reading with speaking and writing.
It turns passive knowledge into active knowledge.
Now, here's something important. You don't need a new text every day.
Exactly. You can read the same text again tomorrow, and that's a good thing.
Rereading builds confidence. The text feels easier. Your brain says, I know this.
That feeling is incredibly motivating.
Let's talk about when to read.
The best time is a time you can repeat daily.
Morning, lunch break, before bed. It doesn't matter.
What matters is consistency. Same time, same habit.
This removes decision fatigue. You don't have to think, you just read.
This step is emotional, but very important. Remove pressure.
Yes, your daily reading routine should feel calm, not stressful.
If one day you're tired, read less. If you miss a day, don't punish yourself.
Learning a language is not about being perfect. It's about showing up again.
Beginners often say, I don't feel like I'm improving.
And that's normal. Progress is quiet.
But after a few weeks of daily reading, something changes. You recognize words faster, sentences feel clearer, English feels less foreign.
That's progress, even if it's subtle.
So let's summarize the perfect daily reading routine for beginners. Short reading time, same type of content, read for meaning, learn a few new words, read aloud, create one sentence, repeat daily.
This routine doesn't require talent, it doesn't require money, it only requires consistency.
5 to 10 minutes a day can change everything.
And remember, every day you read, you're becoming a little more confident.
Little by little, English becomes familiar.
And when English feels familiar, fluency stops feeling impossible.
Keep reading, keep going, one day at a time.
Let's do a quick example. Imagine this sentence. On Sunday, I relaxed at home and read a short story. From just one sentence, you can learn relaxed, at home, read, short story. And then you can say your own version. On Saturday, I stayed at home and read an article. This is how reading turns into speaking naturally. Here are useful reading-related phrases. I'm reading a book. I'm learning new words. This text is easy. Difficult. I read a little every day. I enjoy reading in English.
These expressions help you talk about your learning, which is also part of fluency.
Let's recap our best tips. Keep it simple, read things you like, don't translate everything, read out loud, be consistent, not perfect.
Remember, progress comes from repetition, not pressure.
As we finish today's episode, remember this. Every page you read, every sentence you understand, every word you recognize, it all counts. You are building your English step by step.
Learning English through reading is a journey of patience and discovery. Some days you'll understand more, some days less, and that's okay. What matters is that you keep going.
You are not alone. You are part of the Ingletone family, learners from all over the world, learning together.
So tell us in the comments, what are you reading in English right now? We'd love to know.
Thank you for being here. Keep reading, keep practicing, and keep believing. See you in the next Ingletone episode.